The James Show Podcast.
My next guest is the esteemed Attorney General of the great state of Texas. Ken Paxton's coming back on. And Ken Paxton, one thing we want to talk to you about, probably nothing else at the moment, is the fleeing state representatives that have gone to a bunch of other blue states and are refusing for any business to get done in the Texas State House. This is, of course, predicated by the redistricting vote. Are there going to be any negative consequences visited upon them besides just a couple of fines here and there?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. We certainly are, first trying to get them back by going into Illinois and other states to file actions to enforce the quorum warrants that were issued by the Speaker of the House, Dustin Burrows. So we're just trying to get them back. So ultimately, that's mostly what they care about. Yeah, there definitely are fines. The other thing we're trying to do, and the other thing we have filed with the Texas Supreme Court, is we've sought to remove 13 of these legislators from office by arguing that they have explicitly said they're not going to be here to do the business of Texas, and therefore they've abandoned their office. They should be replaced. And so there is the possibility, depending on what the Texas Supreme Court says, of actually having some of them removed enough that would fix the quorum.
See, that actually sounds promising. It's never happened before. What's different this time around?
Well, I don't think anybody ever thought of this before. This was something we came up with 3 years ago in 2021 when the Democrats left and ultimately came back, after a short time. And then we passed the redistricting map then. But the reality is no one ever thought of this before. We thought of it. We had an opinion on it 3 years ago, and we're acting on that opinion now, hoping that the Texas Supreme Court will hear our plea and help us get people back to work.
So what's the recent history here? How long were they gone when they did this in 2021?
I don't remember. I remember 2003 when I was in the House better because they were gone until October. The first time they did this. I do not remember in 2021 because I was not in the House, but I very explicitly remember my whole year being, because, we don't make a lot of money as representatives, $600 a month. So I was away from my law practice for almost the entire year. And it was very expensive for me. And of course I'm, managing expenses while I'm trying to earn a living. And for the Democrats to do that, it was very, it affected my ability to earn money that year. It was very difficult.
Agreed. All right. We're talking with Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton on WBAP. Ken Paxton, when we do see them come back, have they done enough that you can just go ahead and throw cuffs on them?
Well, the way it works, yes, they can be cuffed, not to be put in jail. It's a little different. It's not, they haven't committed a normal crime. That their crime is not showing up for work and not doing the job that they were elected to do. So they can be cuffed and brought back to the Texas House and then locked in there. That's appropriate. That's what they're supposed to be doing. And so in a sense, they can be imprisoned, but only imprisoned in the Texas House.
Okay, that sounds a little odd. Ken Paxton, what should I be asking about this situation that I'm not?
Well, actually, I just thought of some additional information about it. So, yeah, there is another way that they could end up in jail, and that's if any of these actions in other states, we're asking for them to be held into contempt. And if they don't come back, to be thrown in jail, where they're at. So there is a possibility to end up in jail. I don't think that's the likely result. We really just want them to get back, get the job done so we can get redistricting done and move on to the maps that the state legislature adopts.
Well, is there any charges that are possible for the people helping them? I heard rumor of Beto might get in trouble from some bribery statute.
Yeah, so we also are pursuing his organization, Powered by the People, and George Soros' organization called Majority Texas PAC. We have sent them what are called RTEs, requests to examine, because we have, in my office, we have the authority to make sure that charities are not deceiving people or participating in deceptive practices. So the way that the Beto has pitched this, his organization, is that somehow they're raising political contributions and they're telling people these are for political contributions. Well, it doesn't seem like that's what they're doing. They're raising money to pay for expenses for these legislators to do something that's not legal under Texas law. So they're misrepresenting to their donors what they're actually doing. So we got an injunction last week, I think it was on Friday, in a Tarrant County District Court, which said to Beto and his organization, you can't do this. You have to stop until we find out more about what you're saying and what you're doing. So I'm not sure he's following that, because I think on Saturday at a rally, and I'm pretty sure he was still encouraging things that the judge told him not to do.
Ken Paxton, we had Jasmine Crockett over the weekend say, if not for gerrymandering, the Democrats would control the House of Representatives. And should that even play into the math here on whether or not we redistrict?
Well, look, we have a lot of reasons to redistrict. We're a growing state. We've grown more than any other state by several million since the last redistricting. And we certainly know, by looking at the Democratic maps, they've been doing this for decades. It's not even like, I don't even know how they get away with in Massachusetts and some of these other states, or like Maryland, where they have just one Republican. Massachusetts, no Republicans. I think New Mexico has no Republicans. I think Hawaii has no Republicans. How do you have a state that has, or in Connecticut, you have 40%?
Yeah, Massachusetts, Vermont. Yeah, I've seen the list go around. That's a killer point.
Yes, I mean, how is it that they can even like look into a camera or look into somebody's face and say, oh, these Republicans are so bad? They're actually drawing lines that benefit their Republican constituents when they've been doing it for decades. It's really hypocritical, and it's shocking that they have no remorse or even like second thoughts about being so disingenuous.
All right. Well, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, stay on him. I hope we can see some handcuffs flying around when they get back, but keep us updated. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
DPS has set up a special tip line to track down the missing lawmakers who've fled the state over the redistricting vote. Yes, if you happen to see them, you can call this special tip line. You don't need a special tip line. Just follow their social media. They're bragging about it. Here I am with the mayor of wherever. Here I am at the capital of wherever. They can't stop telling you where they're at. Are you kidding? These people are the easiest to find ever. All right, so let's go to the WNBA here, where we talked about this last week, and when we had last revisited this on Friday's show, there had been 3 games in the WNBA where someone had thrown an adult toy on the court. And I was making the case that, of course, it needs to stop. Of course, it's inappropriate. There's children around. We don't need to be exposing children to, phallic-looking toys. And the immature part of me said, okay, if there weren't kids around, I can see how that would be funny. But I figured this would just stop. I don't know why I thought it would stop. I thought it would get old. I thought, people think it's a hack move. Someone already did it or whatever. It didn't stop. In fact, now I think we're up to 5 or 6. How many are we up to? I think it's 6 that we're up to now. So now I'm starting to think it's a problem. I was saying, for a brief little unacceptable behavior, that's not going to be bad for the league. It keeps it in the news. It even gets a little bit of an edge, It's edgy. It's not so boring and stuffy. And no, it's still going to happen. Now we're starting to get into the arena where I think it's going to be a problem for them. And all they have to do, really, is just crack down hard on the people that are throwing the toys, no pun intended. But you're starting to get some real ugly headlines. Over the weekend, at a WNBA game in Brooklyn, someone tried to chuck another toy onto the court, ended up hitting a 12-year-old girl in the leg. See, now we have a problem. So the New York Police Department on Friday released a photo and a short video clip of a person of interest, and he kind of looks like me when I was 20. He's wearing a Beavis and Butthead shirt, just looks like a generic white guy. But this is the latest. This is a series now. And the way it was described in NBCnews.com, the NBC News, they say the incident in Brooklyn was the latest in a series of men throwing blank toys at WNBA players over the past 2 weeks. Oh, it's all men. So we're just going to throw men under the bus. That's interesting. So this has been going on since July 29th. And it started at a Golden State Valkyries game against the Atlanta Dream in College Park, Georgia. And then it happened in Phoenix, Chicago, Los Angeles, and now this Brooklyn situation. This is too many. This is starting to be a real problem. The way they're handling it deserves a little bit of scrutiny too. You have the media throwing some microphones in front of one of the head coaches. This is the head coach for the Minnesota Lynx. And she says, you don't have to exaggerate. It's bad enough. You don't have to make up things for this to be condemned. But she said this has been going on for centuries.
Things onto the court. Obviously, you guys know what the object is. And I just want to comment on, this has been going on for centuries. The sexualization of women. This is the latest version of that. And it's not funny. It should not be the butt of jokes on any radio shows or in print or in any comments. The sexualization of women is what's used to hold women down. And this is no different. This is just a bladed sport. And we should write about it in that way. And these people that are doing this should be held accountable. And we're not the butt of the joke. They're the problem. And we need to take action.
Okay, did you catch all that? Because the audio was terrible and they wouldn't stop bouncing basketballs in the background. But she was saying that there shouldn't be any jokes about this. Now, hang on a second. She specifically said radio shows. I can still tell jokes. I condemn it. It is a bad action. I wish it would stop. I wish it had never started. It is completely inappropriate in a family setting to be throwing, obviously, sexualized toys in the court of public opinion, metaphorically speaking. But it shouldn't be something that gets too focused on, or you're going to encourage copycats. It should just be like, oh, well, that's not a basketball, and then move on. Don't pick it up, and don't look confused, and don't ask for a technical foul. And oh, man, but the world we live in 2025, it's just so fast-paced. They're just so into everything. There are prop bets for the next color of the toy that's going to be thrown on the court at a WNBA game. Did you realize that? In the first 3 instances, they were all purple. I don't know why. I don't know if that was just a coincidence. And so after 3 games in a row of it being purple, social media was passing around the prop bets on what the next color would be. And then the internet got broken over the weekend because in the 4th game where one was thrown, it was green. And that was just too much. He just blew up sports books all over the globe. Vegas was melting down. It was pandemonium in the streets because it was green. Who would bet on green? I don't know. But they're going to keep getting asked about this. They need to get some marketing gurus together and come up with the messaging for this, because when you just have random players going out, saying their own things, doing their own interviews, it's not going to die down. Now, this whole thing about this has been going on for centuries, it sounds weird when she says that, because no, there hasn't been women playing basketball for centuries. There hadn't even been basketball for centuries. And no one's been throwing toys on the courts for centuries. So she's just talking about the sexualization of women. I don't know if this fits into the whole general historical trend of what we consider patriarchy and male-dominated, societal norms. This could be something new. This I don't think this really fits in with the whole, oppression versus chivalry dynamic that civilization's always had. Where women, you stay in the home, you don't make as much as men, but also you don't have to go to war. And if you're going to step over this puddle, I'll take my cape off and you can walk on that. This is not fitting in that storyline at all. This is a bunch of immature goobers, probably dudes, that think it's funny. And so now they have a system set up where they're debating putting nets around the court. So what? So it'll catch all the toys that are being thrown? They're like, yes, this is for player safety. Okay, if it's for player safety, charge someone with a crime, maybe. That'll stop. But putting a net on, up, how high does that net have to be? What, do you think we can't throw it over the net? And so think about it like this. If they do put up a net, and now for the dork prankster that thinks this is funny, the idiots that keep doing this, now they have to throw it 25, 30 feet in the air to get it over the net before it comes back down. So now it's got even more velocity on its way down. It is a more dangerous situation that you've created with the net. Drives me nuts. It is kind of funny, though, but it drives me nuts. 800-288-9227. How would you solve the problem of toys being thrown on the court? Marital aids being thrown on the court at WNBA games. Have it charge people with crimes? Ban them forever? That's all I got. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, no, your girl on food stamps does not deserve a popsicle. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. To the phones we go. It's Eric in the Colony. You're on WBAP. Go, Eric.
Hey, James. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it. I'm calling in regarding the segment about Trump going after the drug cartels.
Right.
I disagree with one of the premises from that last segment in that if you go after the demand side, it's really going to improve the situation. But the problem is, if you go after the cartels, then the available drugs on the market, the prices are going to go up. They're going to go way up. And average people aren't going to have access to them. So it'll improve that. They're not going to have a choice but to go do something else.
Well, I would submit that the heroin user is still going to do heroin. He's just going to have to commit more crimes in order to afford it.
Yeah, well, that's probably true, but that's a smaller portion of the population.
Well, no, look, I think you're coming up with an important point here, because when you talk about opiate addictions, the real problem comes with, especially the people that are hooked on these pills that are relatively low dose. And I say that because, you're still functioning. People are still going to work. There is a weird subset of the doctor world that is addicted to pills because they have such easy access to it. But there's never, I want to say almost never, any crime associated with it other than, writing themselves a false prescription or getting their friends to write them false prescriptions because they can afford it, because they can get it for a couple bucks a pill, and plus they're doctors. So, the crime comes in when you make it unaffordable, and then they have to commit crimes to get the money to do it. So what you should really do to minimize the amount of damage that, druggies are causing is you want it to be as cheap as possible. And if you make it more expensive, you're going to be increasing the amount of crime that druggies have to do to support their habit.
Yeah, but I think there's a threshold where eventually it's just not going to be sustainable for them to commit all these crimes just to get super expensive drugs. I mean, look at fentanyl right now. It's so dirt cheap right now coming across the border. If they go after the source, then there's going to be less of it. The price is going to go up. Average people aren't going to be able to afford it, and you'll have less of it being peddled down the street.
Yeah, but I could also make the case that if they can't get their nice, clean fentanyl pills, that they'll go out in the street and they'll get a bag of brown heroin, and it'll be just as dangerous, if not more. Also, if you're, supporting a cartel that at the back of it is some pharmaceutical factory, that's better than the guys that are making bathtub heroin or cutting the stuff in some warehouse in the cliff.
Well, that's true, but, how do you attack this thing? It's like eating an elephant. You do it one bite at a time, right?
Here's how you attack this thing. You legalize all of it.
I disagree with you there. But
why?
Well, because there would be mayhem, I think, in the streets. Some people, unfortunately, don't know what's best for themselves.
Okay, so look, I like to use the example of prohibition. We had alcohol illegal for a while. When we re-legalized it, was there more or less mayhem surrounding alcohol than we had during prohibition? We took away the Al Capone. We took away the bootleggers. We took away all the cops that were getting bribed for all the speakeasies. We took away all the speakeasies. Those are all criminal organizations. I would say we had much less chaos. You didn't have to sneak into the back room or the underground room under the Jewel Hotel in downtown you could get a drink.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I don't know that it's a good comparison, but
why wouldn't that work with all drugs? Why wouldn't that work with all recreational drugs or weed?
Well, that's true, but then you're talking about not just endangering the people that are taking the drugs. You're talking about endangering everyone else too around them.
How are you endangering them?
These people are out driving on the streets. And,
yeah, well, they're already doing it anyway, and they're already driving. You don't create new drug users when you legalize it. It's going to stay about the same. Again, the lesson from Prohibition. We had a set number of drinkers when Prohibition came around. That number actually went up just a little bit, almost statistically insignificant. When Prohibition was repealed, that number stayed about the same. So we don't have any more or less people that are on the roads or in the schools or in the shopping malls or are on the trains with us. It's about the same amount of usage there. It's just above ground.
They tried it in Portland, Oregon, and look how that worked out. They ended up repealing it.
Well, see, this is great because, Eric, this is what Lynn brought up. I got an email from Lynn. I know you didn't see this, but Lynn, he's making the case that every time drugs are legalized and promoted, the government always over-regulates it, and customers go to cartel dealers to get the drugs cheaper. We end up with more dangerous additives that are known or unknown to the user, which increases overdoses and deaths. So, yes, repeal it all. Get the government out of it, and then you don't have that problem either. Look, I'm not going to convince you today.
I'd like to see a case study on that because I don't.
We have a case study of Prohibition, but also
Prohibition. No, I'm not buying that one. We need something a little more substantial than that.
What,
like real drugs?
Well, here's something that I think I want you to think about walking off into the sunset here. I share an ideology in this arena with the founding fathers, and you don't. And I'm not saying that is pejorative to you. I'm saying the founding fathers were aware of drugs. They decided not to regulate them or make them illegal or put any powers in the Constitution or at any state level, in the Philadelphia level. That just throwing it out there, something to think about. I know we're not going to convince each other today, but it's a great discussion, Eric. Good stuff.
That's right.
All right.
Hey, thanks, James.
Thanks for letting me have the last word. I know that's
appreciate it.
Great advantage here. Yeah, the phone lines are full. Everyone wants to talk about drugs. And listen, it's based on this headline today that Donald Trump has confirmed that he's working on plans with the Pentagon to make strikes against Mexican cartels. And look, it's not that they're good people and they don't have it coming and, they don't deserve a little bit of justice here. But if y'all think this is going to end the drug war or solve the drug war or improve the drug war, this isn't the solution. This is, I don't know. It's been tried. We did this. We knocked off Pablo Escobar. Did one person miss a bump of cocaine in America? Is there anything you can do to get Hunter Biden to stop liking crack? And as long as there's a demand, there's going to be the trade. As long as someone can make money for it. Look, this is as much an economic problem and with an economic solution as this is some social, societal ill or some vice crime. No, economics tells you that if there's going to be a demand for it, there's going to be a market for it. Now we're just deciding, is that going to be a white market or a black market? No, not like that. Don't call Jasmine on me and get me all in trouble.
Anglos.
I know. This is Clint and Santo. You're on the WBAP.
Hey, good afternoon. I just wanted to weigh in and say that you finally said something today that I totally agree with. I usually have something that I disagree with in most of your statements.
Well, hang on. First off, thank you for listening, even though you disagree with me most days. I give you so much credit for that because it scares the hell out of me that I say unpopular stuff that I'm running people off.
No, I was just wanting to let you know that I agree with you that they ought to legalize it and they ought to reduce the price per dose to the lowest possible. They encourage them to buy as much as they can. And like everything else, all the weak people in the world will call themselves out.
Well, they're already doing it. And look, you wonder how people get rolled up into this to begin with. Like, who's the guy how do you smoke your first crack rock knowing that there's not a good story at the end of this? No one's like, well, I started smoking crack and then I made it to the Super Bowl or I got my first Grammy. Well, I mean, for some of them it does. But how did you come to this realization? Why are you so pro legalization? You just want them to kill themselves?
Pretty much. I'm 74 years old, and I have watched this go up and down, this cycle go up and down, up and down, up and down, and I'm just tired of dealing with it. Give them all they want. Let them fill their veins and their bodies with all of this poison and die as soon as they possibly can and put themselves out of their misery and us as taxpayers as well.
Jesus, Clint, you got kind of dark on me there, bud. Listen, I was thinking more lighthearted, like, well, look, 100 years ago, cocaine was legal. You could put it in Coke. You could put it in medicines that you got at the drugstore. You could go get cocaine if you wanted and just sniff your little heart out. Was there a cocaine cartel? No, there wasn't. So I think we have enough history. If you want to get rid of the cartels, just make it legal. I'm not trying to kill everybody like Clint, though. Good Lord. Rick, Oklahoma, you're on WBAP.
Well, thanks for taking my call. I'm going to be one of those that disagree with you, and the reason I'm saying that is if we just make it okay, we just say, okay, you can have all the drugs you want, I think that's going to open the door for young folks who really didn't have any idea about wanting to do drugs, but now that they think it's legal, they might go in there and start experimenting with it more and more and more, and I think it's going to increase the problem instead of making it worse. Sometimes you have to stand up and fight for what we think is right, and the drug cartels are wrong, and no matter how you look at the situation, it's wrong, and it's not moral. It's a moral issue as well as a sickness issue, but you can't enable these people, and you just have to stand up for what you think is right. That's just my opinion on it. So shut up.
Let me tell you, because I get the moral argument a lot, and my response to that is not everything that is immoral should be illegal. You shouldn't be thrown in jail and have your life ruined for everything that is immoral. So we got to take that one out of there. But I can't disprove your theory that if we legalize all drugs, then more people will do it and suffer because of it. I mean, we have some examples of people who've kind of decriminalized it, like Portugal, and that sort of played out in my favor. So I can't disprove you there, but I can go back in history and say 100 years ago, before we had drug prohibition, people had, the full smorgasbord of anything they could try, and some of them did get whacked out. But it was about the same proportion as we see now, maybe a little bit less. But I think back to Tombstone. You remember the movie Tombstone? Everyone likes that. Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, I'm your Huckleberry.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Now, you remember how Wyatt Earp's wife was addicted to laudanum?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's an opiate-derived tonic, and it's like being addicted to pills now. She was a pillbilly. We've always had it.
Oh, yeah, I know that. Yeah, that's a fact. You're right. We have always had it.
Okay, but making it illegal didn't get rid of it. It just also created our addicts plus a cartel, plus this whole criminal industry that didn't exist when Wyatt Earp's wife was addicted to opiates.
Right. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But making it illegal is not going to get rid of it either.
Oh, I'm not promising to get rid of the drugs. I'm promising to get rid of the cartels. The drugs are going to be with us. I think the lesson is that we're going to have druggies, whether it's legal or illegal. The only question is, are we going to have cartels supplying them, or Merck and Bayer and Pfizer and I don't know, whoever makes Tylenol or whatever. Great discussion, Rick in Oklahoma.
The James Show Podcast.